everyone. All the protocols are observed. Just in case you want to know why I have my phone, I have to set my timer. 8 minutes, that's only 8 6 is 48, 480 seconds. I'm used to teaching for 2 hours in less comfortable conditions like these. So when you put me in a nice room and give me 8 minutes, that's punishment. Anyway, thank you all for coming. So I want to shift a little bit. You notice there was a struggle to fill the room and the front row. So what am I getting at? We have a numbers problem, and my co-panelist and very good colleague and friend, Mr. Landsheim, always talk about numbers. We don't have the scale to do ICT at the levels to make a shift. And so how do we change that? And so computing education is about education for kids. Really, it's about that. The conversation now in other parts of the world is about how do we provide appropriate information and communication technology skills, computing skills, and computing is a generic term for ICTs, information systems, IT, computer science, and all of that. And it's important that we think in that context. The Vice-Chancellor spoke about dealing with the fundamentals, and computing does that. And so, where do we start? We have to start from the beginning. And so in 6 minutes, I want to tell you that we need to do a couple of things very quickly if we want to do that. We need to think about the 5 years old now. In 5 years, where are they going to be? They're going to be about high school. Think about the first farmer in high school now. In 5 years' time, where are they going to be? They're going to be at 15, leaving high school, and about to enter university or the world of work. And what kind of ICT skills or computing skills we want them to leave with. So there's a lot of work that is being done on implementing technology to support education, and that is very important. We must do that. We have to do our teaching really well. But I'm talking about the subject itself, and I want to urge us to think about that. So a couple of points. I have a little post-it, and I have a couple of points which I will rattle through very quickly. So the issue is about numbers, and where do we start? And we need to scale education. And where do you start an education project with? In my humble view, it's with the teachers. And so we need to provide the appropriate skill for the teachers to scale up. Now there's a lot of stuff that is happening, STEM Guyana, PH, and Ministry of Education, but there is only so much we can do individually in smaller projects. The best way, in my view, to scale is through the schools. And to do that, we need appropriately trained teachers. We need curriculum. We already have a lot of infrastructure. If you listen to Minister carefully, we have a lot of infrastructure. But if you also listen very carefully, Minister is complaining about our poor use of the infrastructure. And a big part of that is because, in my view, we don't have the numbers in the communities. We don't have the leaders. We don't have the right kinds of skills to utilize the resources we have. And so we need to work in the other way. So we need teacher education. And what kind of education am I talking about? Well, I'm talking about education for teachers to teach the subject. In the education sphere, we talk about the pedagogy, which is the methods to teach the subject, the content, so teachers with the appropriate content to teach computing. And when I say computing, maybe I should say I'm talking about programming, web development, database design, networking and infrastructure. I'm talking about the ethical and social issues. I'm talking about the whole spectrum. So it's not only computer science and programming, it's the whole spectrum. How do we do that? Well, we need the appropriate curriculum too. In my view, I don't think we're moving fast enough. And again, I don't like to quote from the developed world, but I'll tell you what has happened in England, an environment I'm very familiar with based on my own reading and my own interaction. So recently they formed this National Center for Computing Education. This is a national center fully funded by the government of England, to focus on developing computing education, something very specific, one subject, and the education element of it. Development of teachers, appropriate curriculum, and the support mechanisms to do it. Because, from what I've read, they're thinking in 5 years, what do we need? If they continue as they were doing, and they were doing ICTs for a long time, and they recognize that we have to move to more computing, so we have to bring back some of the fundamentals in. And in 2015, they did that. There was a lot of debate as to whether they keep the ICTs, which is sort of like our IT, and they have both running in parallel. So I think we need to shift a little bit to the kind of content, the kind of subjects we're teaching. And the UK, they have a lot of money, right? I think they have a lot more money than us, and they are struggling to do it. So it's not an easy problem to solve. Retraining teachers, providing the appropriate levels of skills, developing appropriate curriculum. Everybody knows best what to put in the curriculum. So how do you meet and agree on what is appropriate? Industry has its views, because industry is about what they want to make and develop next, and so on. So we really need to do that. I think we have to take a shift. I'm going to go out on a limb and suggest that in addition to our IT that we have and the other related subject, that we start to think about computing. And we can do that locally, we don't have to wait on CXC. We can do that. We can do that from our Forms 1 to Forms 3 when we have local control of the curriculum. We can do that in the primary schools, and I believe we can lead if we do that. I can tell you on a small scale, it's not difficult to do. We have kids in a program, the Code Camp, the National Code Camp program. We have kids as young as 9, 10 years old developing websites, writing Python programs, designing. It's possible, they can do it. And they're being taught by our local people. It's possible, but when you scale, there's the challenge too. So I think we can do it, and I want to urge us to think about moving our conversation in the computing education. And let's think 5 years. Think about the 5 years old now. What will they be in 5 years? Where will they be? If 10 years old, the 15 years old. And if we think in that cycle, we can do it. So I'm not talking about introducing this tomorrow, but let's start. We need appropriate. And on the last point, I have 30 seconds, 29, 28. If we want to build a society, we have to be more inclusive. I saw an interesting article, I think it was from the US or the UK, where a company was going in, or maybe a voluntary organization, to teach prisoners how to code. Because a lot of those people are going to be out in society again. And if you want to build a society, you want to include everybody, you need to do that. We need to start providing opportunities for retired and older people as well. So we have to be more holistic. So I want us to think about those things. Thank you very much.